with AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now.
Welcome back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. I want to take you to the Supreme Court of the United States, which is hearing a case on birthright citizenship. It's a challenge to President Trump's executive order on that issue. The government has already made its case. Now it's the plaintiff's turn.
They don't have any authority to look at this, even if they passed it 435-0 in the House and 100-0 in the Senate and said, we're carving out a new, by analogy to the existing categories, a new exception. Your point is, no, they're closed, they're frozen forever.
Correct. And the way I would put it is that the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment, again, has a universal rule with a closed set of exceptions. It sets a floor. So the Congress has, under the naturalization clause, the power to expand citizenship to other people not covered by the 14th Amendment, and obviously they have in many ways, but they can't go below that floor that the Constitution sets.
I think Mr. Sauer acknowledged that, and you mentioned this in your opening, that if we agree with you on how to read Wong Kim Ark, then you win. So that could be if we did agree with you on Wong Kim Ark, that could be just a short opinion, right? That says the better reading is respondent's reading. Government doesn't ask us to overrule, affirmed.
Yes.
Then last question, though, why would we address the constitutional issue? This is the last one. Why would you address the constitutional issue, given your argument on the statutory? Our usual practice, as you're well aware, of course, is to resolve things on statutory grounds and not to do a constitutional ground.
Sure. You know, I think we obviously have these two paths to a win here. We're happy to win on either or both of them. I do think it would be prudent for the court to reaffirm its decision in Wong Kim Ark, where it's a landmark decision about the definition of national citizenship in this country. I just think it would be prudent for the court to go ahead and reaffirm that, but of course we're happy to take a win on any ground.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justice Jackson? I'm sorry, Justice Barrett.
So I have a question about the exceptions again. So in your interchange with Justice Kavanaugh just now, you were talking about it as a closed set of exceptions. And said that way, it sounds like exceptions that people had in mind at the time of the ratification, but that were not explicit in the amendment. But I took your brief to be arguing that subject to the jurisdiction thereof is the language in the 14th Amendment that refers to those exceptions. Am I right?
That's right.
Okay.
It describes them.
It describes them. And would you say, this goes back to a question that Justice Gorsuch asked General Sauer, our relationship to the Indian tribes is different today than it was at the time that the 14th Amendment was ratified. Let's put aside Section 1401. Is a tribal Indian born on a reservation today on tribal land a natural-born citizen under the 14th Amendment?
Under the 14th Amendment, no. Of course, Congress has provided for citizenship for all tribal members in the 1924 Act.
By statute. And so is that because what's subject to the jurisdiction of meant when you say closed set of exceptions, it means that the jurisdiction as it existed at the time of the 14th Amendment is still the jurisdiction today? So let me just be a little bit clear. You know, Justice Kavanaugh asked you if we could create new categories by analogy. So there may be other sorts of people who were present here to whom this subject to the jurisdiction in the same way that we were talking about, you know, the bubbles around ambassadors or the soil of occupied territory or the soil of tribal land. Perhaps those new carve-outs could exist by analogy today, like if the United States carved out some portion of some state and suspended it from its jurisdiction. Wouldn't the principle still apply?
No, Justice Barrett, for two reasons. The first is, again, that there is a closed set.
But why is it closed? The language doesn't say it's closed.
Sure. We know it's closed because Congress's, the very purpose of the Citizenship Clause was to foreclose new exceptions. That's clear from the debates. And I would say that the language describes a closed set as well, because you can't imagine another situation. The government's trying to make us imagine another situation, right? They say, look, what if Congress, in order to do an end run, in order to change the meaning of the 14th Amendment as to unauthorized immigrants' children, Congress can say, we are not going to exercise jurisdiction.
Well, not quite, because it's redefining jurisdiction. It's not quite analogous, right? Because the government's domicile theory is a little bit different than the jus soli theory, right?
Sure, that's right. Yeah. I'm just saying that in the second step of their argument as to undocumented immigrants, where they have to get around the fact that undocumented immigrants, by and large, are domiciled in the United States. They're trying to say, look, we're gonna manipulate the law either to define domicile or to carve out, to say, just wave a magic wand and say these babies are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. There's still a missing factor under that original meaning of the 14th Amendment, and that's it. There is another sovereign who can exercise jurisdiction over this person, even though they're in the United States. And this gets me back to a question you asked Justice Alito. The difference between an ordinary non-ambassador foreign national and everyone who's subject to one of those jurisdictions is that even if you take the government's argument and say a foreign national is subject to their country of nationality's jurisdiction in the United States, is actually not true. If I'm a French national in the United States, France cannot come into the United States, arrest me, and try me for a crime under French law. And that's what sets ordinary foreign nationals apart from ambassadors.
Well, no, I mean, I understand. That wasn't quite the hypothetical. I understand that. Let me just ask you, no, that's okay. Let me just ask you one last question about Indians. So I gather what you're saying is that Congress cannot expand the set of, we'll call them exceptions, right? But you're saying it can't contract them either, and that was the Indian example. So what if, again, putting aside Section 1401, what if our relationship with tribal Indians has changed so much that we would say, no, Indians really are fully subject to the jurisdiction of the United States in the way any other, natural-born citizen is? You're saying that that doesn't change the constitutional status of Indian citizenship.
Let me be clear. What I'm saying is that the meaning of the 14th Amendment is we have to go with the original public meaning. And obviously at the very time that the framers were, thinking about the 14th Amendment, at the time of ratification, that relationship between the United States and tribal nations was in flux. Right, the government has made various arguments about Congress's authority, but the way the framers thought about it and the way that Wong Kim Ark describes it is that there was a unique constitutional status, unlike any other relationship between sovereigns in all the world, between the United States and the Indian tribes. And that is what gave rise to the pre-existing exclusion of Indian tribal members from U.S. citizenship, and that's what the 14th Amendment captures.
Justice Jackson?
So I want to understand how you are responding to the government's argument that because temporary visitors and undocumented immigrants are still governed by their home countries, and in the government's take on this, you can't have you can have allegiance to two different sovereigns. Those groups can't have the requisite allegiance to be subject to the United States for the purpose of the 14th Amendment. That's what I hear the government saying, but I do think that that seems to rest on a different understanding of allegiance than what was in the English common law, and that when we understand what the English common law thought about allegiance, you can see that you can have allegiance to two different sovereigns at the same time. This kind of goes back to Justice Alito's questions. I mean, I was thinking about this, and I think there are various sources that say this, that you obviously have permanent allegiance based on being born in whatever country you're from. That's what everybody recognizes. But you also have local allegiance when you are on the soil of this other sovereign. And I was thinking, I, a U.S. citizen, am visiting Japan. And what it means is that, if I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. It's allegiance, meaning can they control you as a matter of law. I can also rely on them if my wallet is stolen to, under Japanese law, go and prosecute the person who has stolen it. So there's this relationship based on, even though I'm a temporary traveler, I'm just on vacation in Japan, I'm still locally owing allegiance in that sense. Is that the right way to think about it? And if so, doesn't that explain why both temporary residents and undocumented people would have that kind of quote-unquote allegiance just by virtue of being in the United States?
That's absolutely right, Justice Jackson, and that comports with the plain text of the 14th Amendment as it applies to everyone born in the United States other than those subject to the exceptions that were baked in, a close set. You owe natural allegiance as a U.S.-born citizen. If you want to look at the parents of those people, and let's say the parents are foreign nationals but not ambassadors, the parents owe temporary allegiance.
Right, so the babies get the permanent allegiance piece of this, and the parents get the local allegiance piece of this. So to the extent we're looking for allegiance, we have it.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Rebuttal, General Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. Justice Kavanaugh, turning to Lynch against Clark that you raised didn't come up when I was talking about it. Keep in mind that we say this question at the time. It's questioned by a higher court in the same state, the state of New York, and the Ludlam decision in 1860 specifically said that someone who's traveling or sojourning abroad, though born in a foreign country, is not born in foreign allegiance. So obviously there is tension within that very state, and that's what contemporary commentators noted. And I make a more fundamental point about that. Lynch is not interpreting the 14th Amendment because it predates it. So it's not looking at the language of the 14th Amendment. It's looking at, what does the word citizen mean, for example, in the clause. So there's an anachronism to their reliance on it. And I think that turns to a point that Justice Alito emphasized. Once you get to that language of the 1866 Civil Rights Act, where Congress said not subject to any foreign power, clearly, we are no longer dealing with the British conception of allegiance because Calvin's case and Blackstone say whether you're subject to another foreign power is irrelevant to whether or not you become a citizen. So, again, the concession that I heard to be made that those two mean the same thing, which this court held in General Building Contractors, that the Civil Rights Act has the same scope as the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment. Once you're saying not subject to any foreign power, Congress has clearly departed from the common law, the British conception of allegiance, that monarchical conception of allegiance. They have adopted the Republican conception of allegiance, and there's all kinds of evidence going back to the late 1700s that that's the way they thought about it. And there was a reference, I think, in my friend's presentation about the Marshall Woodworth treatise from the late 1890s. That treatise also, just like Lynch against Clark, the language they quote is actually describing the case or the law, the status of the law before the adoption of the 14th Amendment. So, but if you actually look at the treatises we cite again, I mean, Wharton, Morse, Justice Samuel Miller of this court, Lesser, Black, Hall, Winchester, Taylor, Westlake, Ballot. There's this consensus going from the time of the 14th Amendment onward, when they're looking at the specific question of temporarily present individuals in the jurisdiction, all those sources say their children are not citizens. And that goes both before and after Wong Kim Ark. You see a similar consensus actually in the congressional debates, where whenever it comes up, temporary sojourners, it's understood, the context indicates it's clearly understood that those children are not citizens. And I would be, therefore, finish where I began with drawing a stark contrast and turn back to the first question that Justice Thomas acted. That Republican Congress in 1866 had a very, very clear understanding that the children of the newly freed slaves have the requisite allegiance to the United States. This was all about overruling the grave injustice of Dred Scott and making sure that allegiance was granted to the children of slaves. However, you have this contrast of a very, very strong, impressive consensus, both in the original understanding in the congressional debates and carrying over into commentators for 50 years afterwards, that the children of temporary sojourners are not covered. And for those reasons, we ask the court to reverse.
Thank you, counsel. General, the case is submitted.
After. All right, folks, so you've been listening to the oral arguments relative to birthright citizenship. It's a challenge to President Trump's executive order on that very issue. At the heart of the matter is the interpretation of what it is to be a U.S. citizen, specifically for someone born here in the United States. President Trump has argued that a number of people have tried to come to this country, have children in this country, and then claim that citizenship, even though there's no real allegiance. Allegiance is a word that you heard used a lot in those oral arguments, that there's no allegiance to the country. Before all of this, the idea that one would be born in the United States and thus would immediately have allegiance to the United States and be a citizen of this country has generally been the dominant theme or the dominant perception and interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which is now going to be cleared up, at least we hope, by the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll, of course, continue to monitor this story for you. President Trump was in the courtroom for the government's arguments on this very issue and then ended up leaving. This was an historic moment as he's the first sitting president to come to the U.S. Supreme Court for this sort of hearing. Quick break here, and then we'll get you back to your regularly scheduled program.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of real America's voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, and inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
My name is T.J. Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
Hi, Pat, from Muskegon, Michigan. Why do you love Rav?
Because we've become family. All those Rav live chatters and me.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the host, even management. We are the RAV family, and we're better together.
Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. More with Will Chamberlain here. Will, so are you hearing anything from your sources at the Supreme Court, the clerks? Are you hearing, anything at this point? Because Blake's, he's hearing negative. I'm not mad at you. I really want the truth.
I don't have sources at the Supreme Court telling me anything, unfortunately. I'd love that. That'd be great, but I don't have them telling me anything.
All right. So Wong Kim Ark. I actually disagree with Wong Kim Ark, but I think this is one of those vestiges of having a racially bifurcated system of laws, right? So they were trying to carve out, in my opinion, with Wong Kim Ark, citizenship for children of legal permanent residents, okay? They were Chinese. The parents were Chinese. They were not allowed to be naturalized at the time. So obviously that later changed. I don't think that children of lawful permanent residents should be citizens. I'm that hardcore on this. But listen, we're not arguing that right now before the Supreme Court. We're saying children of illegals, birthright citizenship for illegals. Okay, go ahead. I can see you have thoughts.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, Wong Kim Ark is, and neither is John Sauer, right? That's an important thing to understand. Like, there was a whole interesting discussion of what was happening here, because John Sauer in the United States' position is that Wong Kim Ark is good law and that it just doesn't control the question of the children of illegal aliens or temporary residents, because throughout Wong Kim Ark is a discussion that it's legal residents, it's people who are domiciled in the United States and lawfully present. So that's the idea there. And, you know, interestingly, like the way that Cecilia Wong opened her presentation was to say Wong Kim Ark controls the result of this case. Wong Kim Ark requires that you give citizenship to basically anybody born here outside of the closed exceptions. And that's the end of it. And Justice Kavanaugh actually pointed out in his questioning, it's like, so you're basically saying we really don't need to even do much here, because under your theory, you know, the administration is wrong about what Wong Kim Ark means, and they're not calling it for it to be overturned. So the end. That's the decision you'd have us give. We could give a 2-page decision. And she said yes. And the reason that's always a bad sign for the person making that argument, Justice Thomas has pointed this out, Supreme Court doesn't take easy cases. That's not and if they do, they take them through what's called, they just will do a grand vacate and remand, or they'll just issue a not sua sponte, sorry, but like a per curiam opinion without hearing argument. When they hear argument in a case, when they go through all this effort, it's usually because they think the question is a little bit more challenging than the people suggest. It requires some real difficulty. So I don't think the court agrees with the respondent's interpretation of Wong Kim Ark. And I think that's a big problem for them, because if the court doesn't agree, then all of a sudden the question of what does the 14th Amendment mean, what is its original meaning, is really quite central. Like, does it allow for either the executive or Congress to create new rules about the children of illegal aliens? And it should, as a policy matter, it should. Obviously, like, it is straight up insane if you were crafting an immigration law from first principles, it would be straight up insane to do so and include a rule that said the people who break your immigration law, their children get to be citizens.
So let's assume they at least get away from total birthright citizenship. What do you think are, obviously we would hope for a total victory, but are there maybe medium level decisions that would be an improvement over the status quo, but not what we're hoping for, that the Supreme Court might try to cut the baby on?
I think the best case for like a split the baby type decision would be something where they say that there was an exception for temporary sojourners that was recognized at the time of the 14th Amendment, but that exception doesn't cover illegal aliens. So the idea would be that they could make a ruling that says, you're allowed to make a rule banning Chinese birth tourism, or not recognizing the children of people, who were born here on tourist visas and then who immediately left, right? They might say that those people are temporary sojourners, their children are American citizens, even if they were born in like an American hospital.
Yeah, but what about like the Guatemalan that is, hiding in the suburbs of Chicago and doesn't tend to go back to Guatemala, but he's not here legally?
Right. And I think that, that's the thing is, I don't think that would be the most principled way to resolve this at all, because I think the principal way to resolve this, especially given the way that immigration law treats illegal entrants who never present themselves as at a port of entry as temporary visitors, like they don't have a legal right to stay. They're treated in the same way that applicants for admission are. This is actually sort of an interesting, cross application to the recent Fifth Circuit decision, which allowed for ICE to detain illegal aliens without bond if they never presented themselves at a port of entry. The idea is that because you never presented yourself at a port of entry, you're in the exact same position as somebody who just showed up at the border and should be treated the exact same way. And so the logic, I think, applies here as well. Like we even if you've been living here for 20 years as an illegal alien, the law will treat you as though you just showed up Right. They don't. Well, the law doesn't recognize.
General Sauer actually touches on this point. Here we have a clip. SOP 4.
Page 2890 of the congressional record from 1866, Senator Cowan gives this virulently racist statement where he says that. And what does he say right at the beginning of that sort of offensive speech? He says we can't have children of gypsies, children of Chinese immigrants. We can't have them become citizens. And he says, quote, have they any more rights than a sojourner in the United States? So he's trying to persuade the Republicans to his view by appealing to a common understanding that sojourners do not have children who become citizens. So there's powerful evidence there that everybody understood this to, not sweep in the temporary sojourner.
Just like a quick aside, like General Sauer's voice is not helping him here. It's raspy and hard to listen to, but I mean his point is well made.
It was one of his best points of the day.
Yeah.
And because I think that was, I forget who asked the question. It was either Sotomayor or Jackson, but she brought up this, terrible statement made by one of these people. And the point Sauer made was if you actually read the statement clearly, it just is incredible evidence for the idea that how the Senate and how Congress understood the 14th Amendment and understood this phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof was that it didn't cover temporary visitors, which if true, that blows up the entire theory of the case of the ACLU, who says that there are only these narrow, closed exceptions: Indian tribes, children of ambassadors, children of foreign invaders, and there's no other possible exception. That's all the subject of the jurisdiction thereof means, is that this small universe of closed and already specified exceptions. And clearly, that's not what the framers of the 14th Amendment thought at all. Clearly, they thought they thought there was a general rule being promulgated, meaning that you had to have allegiance, that it wasn't just people who were just randomly showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Senator Howard, during the debates over the drafting of the 14th Amendment, said this will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of citizen. It's so, I mean, lawyers. Yeah.
I just feel, I can't get over the feeling we might just be stuck with, they'll make a soft-hearted decision because it's mean to.
Yeah, they're going to try and split the baby. I actually agree. I think that's what Robert's going to try and do. Will Chamberlain, Article 3 Project. Thank you, sir. Keep on this. We might have you back soon just to kind of break it all down again for us. Will, God bless you, man.
All right,
we'll talk to you soon. We're staying on this. We'll be right back.
When it's breaking, we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
content. And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because they have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Howdy, RAV fans. This is Warbringer here. Love you all. RAV is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
In 2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot price. At today's prices, those very same 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. Smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals, and that's why you may want to consider buying gold from the folks over at the Birch Gold Group. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth, and today it's a crucial part of any balanced investment strategy. What's even better is that the Birch Gold Group can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. All you have to do is text the word America to the number 989898 and get your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation here, just useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of satisfied customers, allow the Birch Gold Group to help you diversify with gold. It truly is peace of mind. Text the word America to the number 989898. Again, text America to the number 989898 today. Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. We appreciate you being here with us. A challenge to President Trump's executive order limiting the scope of birthright citizenship just wrapped up before the U.S. Supreme Court. The president was there in an historic first for a sitting president to attend a Supreme Court hearing. A number of lower court judges have already blocked the commander-in-chief's order, which seeks to clarify the 14th Amendment. Before the president's order, the amendment was widely interpreted to mean that anyone born in the United States is automatically a U.S. citizen. The commander-in-chief will wrap up this historic day with a 9 p.m. Eastern primetime address to the country. He's expected to lay out the current situation in the war in Iran. His remarks come about 24 hours after he hinted that the military operation could be wrapped up within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Taking to Truth Social, Mr. Trump also writing, Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. There's no word who this regime president is, but we're hoping to get an answer to that tonight. Make sure that you stay tuned to Real America's Voice for the very latest.
This movement will not be silenced. You're listening to The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back. Every day, Americans are making choices that define the future of the country, and you make it with where you spend your money. So Patriot Mobile, I tell you this almost every day, and hopefully more and more of you are making the switch because it's so important. Glenn and Jenny Story are running Patriot Mobile. They have access to all 3 major wireless carriers, so you get the same great service you've already come to expect. But when you spend your money with Patriot Mobile, you're not going to woke wireless. You're not, LGBT, whatever.
And if you call for customer service, you go to an office in Fort Worth instead of an office in Bangalore.
And they actually speak English. This is true. So Patriot Mobile, what do they do with the money when they get it? They defend Texas. They fight against the Islamification of Texas. They fight for your Second Amendment rights, your First Amendment rights, faith, family, and freedom. Switching is easier than ever. Activate in just minutes with the folks over in Fort Worth. You can speak in English. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT and use the promo code Charlie today to make the switch. Patriot Mobile. Excellent people. All right. Very excited about our next guest. That's Dr. Matt Spalding. He is the professors have long titles, so bear with me. He is the Kirby professor in constitutional government at Hillsdale College and the dean of the Van Andel Graduate School of Government at Hillsdale College's Washington, D.C. campus. Welcome to the show, Dr. Matt Spalding.
Hey, great to be with you guys again. Sorry about the long titles, but that's the way academic life is.
Exactly.
I apologize. That's how we operate.
You got to have like the name of the school and then what the school actually is and where it's located. And you guys have multiple titles. We're talking about birthright citizenship, though. So I don't know if you listen to the oral arguments. We kind of got granular in the first couple segments going through these. Right. But let's go ahead and play a clip from the oral arguments because I think there are deeper historical truths that you could help unpack here. And so let's just go with SOT 1. And this is going back to the Civil Rights Act, which was passed right after the Civil War. SOT 1.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your brief is not about illegal aliens. Most of your brief is about people who are just temporarily in the country, where there was quite clearly an experience of, an understanding of, that there were going to be temporary inhabitants. And your whole theory of the case is built on that group. You must be saying that there is a principle that was there at the time of the 14th Amendment.
We agree there's a principle there at the 14th Amendment. It is the jurisdiction means allegiance, the allegiance of and this is very strongly reflected in 19th century sources, the allegiance of an alien president in another country is determined by domicile. And that goes back to the Venus and the Pizarro, goes through the Katza Affair in 1853, it comes right up to Fong Yui Ting and Lau Au-Bu that are decided shortly before Wong Kim Ark. So that's the principle. That principle clearly applies.
So we're talking about, so you're laughing. What just happened there? Yeah, what just happened there?
So a couple of key things. First of all, just by way of context, right? This is the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment, which is passed after the Civil War to grant citizenship to former slaves, the freedmen, and their children. That amendment grows out of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And the comparisons between were absolutely key because the people who sponsored that Civil Rights Act and the people who wrote the Citizenship Clause of the Constitutional Amendment, the 14th Amendment, are the same people. And indeed, they're quoted, and there are lots of quotes, and they have lots to say. They don't necessarily clarify everything exactly the way we would want today, but they do clarify it quite a bit. So that's one thing. So when we work through the 1866 Acts, that's a definitive legislative history that affects the civil rights, that affects the constitutional amendment. So that's one point. The second point, which comes up this question, is people who are temporarily, illegally, all these different categories. That's important to keep in mind here, because there are all sorts of different things, some of which apply, some of which don't apply, that are being debated, but we want to see through that to the key question, which is really found in the answer that comes back, which is the key language in the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment is jurisdiction. So just to remind us, that opening line of the 14th Amendment says that all persons born and naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. There's no disagreement here about the first part and the last part. All persons born and naturalized in the United States. We kind of know what that means to be born and to be naturalized, to go through the naturalization process. But the other thing here is there's this other clause, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. What does that mean? Clearly, it's not there for no good reason, and suggests that it's this and that. There are two requirements here. So jurisdiction is key. That's what they're debating. The 1866 Civil Rights Act goes straight to that, because they talk about jurisdiction, and they say what it means is that you have full and complete allegiance, political allegiance, to this country and not someone else. So the debate is whether does jurisdiction mean, oh, I abide by the stop signs, meaning local kind of jurisdiction of having to live here, or does it actually have substantive meaning? Because if it does have substantive meaning, which is what the executive order in this case is claiming, then the various steps along the way in the cases can be read that way. They do make minor distinctions here and there, but generally speaking,
back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. Oral arguments over President Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship before the U.S. Supreme Court have just wrapped up. Cecilia Wang from the ACLU arguing against the government, just taking to the podium to talk to reporters.
In the birthright citizenship case, I'm Cecilia Wong, legal director of the ACLU. Just finished arguing, so I come out of the court today with the thought of my parents and so many of our parents and ancestors who came to this country seeking refuge, seeking new opportunities, and who relied on the rule that we've had in this country for 150 years, that everyone born here is a United States citizen, all alike. And I'm confident that the court is going to turn back this president's effort to radically rewrite our 14th Amendment rule of birthright citizenship. I want to thank the whole team behind me who have brought this case from the very beginning. We have a nation of millions on our side, and we couldn't be more confident about our arguments here. Thank you.
Birthright citizenship. Excuse me. Oh, thank you. Birthright citizenship is foundational to who we are as a country. Cecilia Wong, the legal director of the ACLU, stood up today and told the Supreme Court exactly that. We have every confidence we are going to win this case for America and for millions of Americans whose parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents were immigrants in this country. Thank you.
Janae Nelson, President and Director Counsel of the Legal Defense Fund. We stand proudly and staunchly opposed to the executive order that attempts to rewrite the 14th Amendment. We are grateful to the ACLU and our co-counsel, the Asian Law Caucus, for the excellent work that we've done to litigate this case. Cecilia Wong was exceptional today in giving the entire court and everyone in attendance a lesson on the Constitution, on stare decisis, and on separation of powers. We stand with the ACLU with all immigrants in this country, and we ask the court to uphold the law, its own law, that is over 150 years old, that it must adhere to, because birthright citizenship is foundational to the 14th Amendment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Anthony Romero, the National Executive Director of the ACLU. And today, our National Legal Director, Cecilia Wong, presented arguments on a very simple premise, that if you're born in the USA, you're an American citizen. I'm confident after listening to the arguments and watching the justices ask questions, that we will prepare. I was especially gratified that President Trump was sitting a mere 6 feet away from me. And I hope that he was schooled in the importance of birthright citizenship. I am confident that we will win this case and that the future of this country will be determined by our Constitution, by our civil rights statutes, and not by the whim of a president who wishes to wipe away hundreds of years of precedent. Thank you very much.
Those remarks coming from the legal team pushing back against President Trump's executive order that would seek to change the way we see the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship in this country. The government's lawyers at this point have not taken to the podium. The moment they take the microphone outside the U.S. Supreme Court, we, of course, will take you there for their remarks as well. Also, in an historic angle to this particular story, President Trump was in court today. He was there for the oral arguments for government lawyers there there as they seek to uphold his executive order that would change the way we view birthright citizenship. We'll have more on this throughout the day here on Real America's Voice. And again, the moment the government lawyers take to the podium outside the U.S. Supreme Court, we'll take you there for their remarks as well.
You're the king's subject. That's actually arguing for birthright citizenship. The argument for Republican government, i.e. the United States, is birth by blood, which is say that in lacking all the documentation she might require for a full 18-year-old person going to vote or something, the default is their parents, which is say, to whom are their parents subject? So if they're subjects to the King of England, they're not Americans. They're subjects to the King of England. If they're French citizens or citizens from another country to which they are loyal, their children are that citizenship as well. That's the distinction that I think draws out the absurdity of it.
Dr. Matt Spalding, stay right there. We've got another segment with you. Want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. These are great guys down in Florida that have built a nationwide business built on a flipping of the script when it comes to your health care. Do you get sick and then wait in line, ask for permission from your doctor, from your pharmacy? Or do you take control of your own health care and get prepared ahead of time? And that's what All Family Pharmacy is designed to do, help you get prepared ahead of time. So with All Family Pharmacy, you order your prescription medications before you get sick, keep them at home, have them ready. A licensed doctor reviews everything, so it's still going through proper channels. Don't worry about that. Antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and even your daily maintenance medications. Check it out. It's about being prepared. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Use code KIRK10 to save 10% on your next order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. We'll be right back.
So the question, Michelle wants to ask the question this time. She says, how does your relationship with your father influence now how you...
When it's breaking,
We're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
A permanent home. There are people who are subject to removal at any time if they are apprehended and they go through the proper procedures, but they have in their minds made a permanent home here.
Talk about the legal capacity to know, to create a domicile, excluding someone who may have the subjective intent, which otherwise would be determinative, as being excluded. On the humanitarian point, I would point out, as I said at the beginning, Justice Alito, that the United States rule of nearly unrestricted birthright citizenship is an outlier among modern nations. Every nation in Europe has a different rule, and the notion that they have a huge humanitarian crisis as a result of not having unrestricted birthright citizenship, I don't think is a strong argument.
So nations that have repealed birthright citizenship since 1980, Dr. Matt Spalding, Australia got rid of it in 2007, New Zealand got rid of it in 2005, Ireland 2005, France 1993, India got rid of it in 1987, the UK 1983, Portugal 1981.
Right.
Give us a history lesson of where this even came from, because it was really popular in the New World to try to, import and attract new Europeans.
Think even broader than that. I kind of made reference to it at the end of our last session. The old notion of how one became a citizen is you took on the citizenship. They didn't even use the word citizenship. You were a subject. You took on the subjectship, if you will, of your king. So if you're born on the king's soil, you're a subject to the king. It's feudal. It's feudalism. America and the rise of Republican governments changed that. Now, we had two things going on in America. One is we needed population. So we were encouraging, and we were very broad on our immigration policies because we wanted to grow the nation and have more citizens. Although even then, from the very beginning, we were careful on who we encouraged. And if you came here, you had to work hard, and you had to learn to be an American. That was very important. But the other point, that clip you just showed kind of starts getting to this question, is what's been going on since then is around the world, feudalism has died out, and kind of Republican or Democratic republics have been spreading more. So more and more countries have been getting rid of birthright citizenship. And yet here we are, the parent, if you will, of modern Republican government and Democratic republicanism. We're sticking with birthright citizenship. It's just exactly backwards. But the other point I want to make here is that this question of consent, the essence of the American principle is consent based on all men being created equal, the Declaration of Independence. But consent tells us something about how our immigration laws should operate, which is that it has to be reciprocal. Someone has to want to come here, okay, that's part of it, but you can't come here on your own and make yourself or your child an American citizen. What you need to do is get reciprocal consent, which is that we consent to you becoming a citizen. And that's done how? Through our laws, which the executive is empowered to enforce. And with a lack of laws, he needs to figure out some sort of policy, hence this executive order. But there is a process. And the problem is that of all the places in the world, why are we somehow claiming a right, a fundamental right, that the Supreme Court should be able to dictate on something that by all standards, all historical standards, and increasingly by more and more countries around the world, is understood to be a lawful right of a sovereign country to control its own citizenship. It can have a broad policy, it can have a narrow policy, it can allow this, it can allow that, but it's the decision of those that are here who consent through law to welcome other people in, and then have requirements. You have to pass a citizenship test, whatever it might be. We can grant special rights for those that are persecuted if we choose. This policy really is truly an aberration, as was said in that clip. This is not the norm at all when it comes to Republican government.
It's just, I feel like, honestly, if we want to take the biggest thing, as we said, nations are repealing this, and I think we should remind people of what the stakes of this are, what we've seen happen because of this ridiculous interpretation of the law. We have, I believe they actually mention it during the oral arguments, there are something like 800 companies in China offering birth tourism to the Chinese.
We have this clip, yeah. SOT 8.
Let's play that. Let's play SOT 8.
Problem of birth tourism.
Here's the facts about it that I think is striking. Media reported as early as 2015 that based on Chinese media reports, there are 500 birth tourism companies in the People's Republic of China whose business is to bring people here to give birth and return to that nation. Their interpretation has these implications that could not possibly have been approved by the 19th century framers of this amendment. I think that shows that they made a mess. Their interpretation has made a mess of the provision.
So some estimates have it at 1.5 million Chinese residents that live in China are American citizens. In theory, they could vote in our elections.
Vote in our elections, but also move here, immediately get taxpayer-funded college, immediately qualify for every program that we rig that you can scam. I bet there's guides on how to do that. Set up your own daycare while you go to college here.
Think more broadly for a minute. People that have a broader, narrow view of immigration policy, I tend to think it should be more narrow and more selective. Having said that, there can be a broad array of opinions. We're a free country. The question is who controls that policy? And in a government, a country based on the rule of law, we control that policy. That's what it means to be a free, self-governing people. The birth tourism problem, coming especially from a place like China, and I'm sure others come here for the same reason, knowingly doing this, is to establish citizenship, which gives them certain rights claims. They might be thinking about getting other benefits and whatnot, but I can tell you from the point of view of China, it's a strategic question. They, i.e. foreign countries, are trying to determine our policies, and the more they can have people who can claim to come and go as they choose in and out of the country because they're citizens in the future, redounds to their benefit. So it is a large strategic problem, but ultimately it's this larger moral constitutional question: who controls who is an American? Is that a right in and of itself for anybody in the world? Or is it a right and a privilege which we understand and control by our laws? I think that's what's at issue here.
Dr. Matt Spalding of Hillsdale College, you're in D.C., so I'm sure it's all the chatter in the city today, and we pity you for having to live there, but we're grateful that you do so with a clear mind and common sense, which is a rare virtue in that part.
So it's not clear to me what the Supreme Court will do. They can always come up with different little twists and turns here and there. But having said that, if they're to follow the history of the Civil Rights Act, if they follow the history of their own decisions, Wong Kim Ark, this case that's always mentioned, he was a permanent citizen. The executive order makes room for precisely that condition.
Permanent resident.
If they follow the permanent resident, if they follow that, there is an argument here and there's an answer, which I think can be found consistent with the Constitution and good policy.
Hillsdale College, it's the best. Thank you, Dr. Spalding.
Thank you. Great being with you guys again.
Hour 2 coming up next.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. America's America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. Christians around the world are getting ready to celebrate Easter this weekend. For those looking to bring more faith-based Christian content to their homes, well, Angel Studios has you covered.
This weekend is the most important weekend for all Christians as we celebrate our risen Lord this Easter. And if you're looking for powerful Christian movies and series, Angel Studios is the place to go. Angel has an incredible library of faith-filled content that will inspire you and your family as you celebrate the resurrection of God's only Son. Some of the titles that Angel has brought you in recent years are Cabrini, The King of Kings, The Sound of Hope, David, and Testament. All of these titles are part of Angel's online library, which you can have full access to by becoming an Angel Guild member. And right now, Angel is running an Easter special. So for just $8.99 a month for an entire year, you can watch all of these titles. When you sign up for the Guild, you'll get 2 free tickets to any Angel theatrical release of your choice, including Animal Farm and Young Washington that are coming soon. So don't miss this offer. Sign up by this Easter Sunday to lock in this great opportunity by visiting the QR code on your screen or going to angel.com/RAV.
That was RAV correspondent Bo Davidson, who now joins us live to talk more about what Angel Studios has going on. Bo, always good to see you. Hey, look, some exciting times and exciting stuff coming from Angel Studios.
Man, it's great stuff, Terrence. As I mentioned in the promo, there's just an extensive library of great material that you and your family can go see. And the thing about it, this deal, that I think is so great, it's $8.99 for an entire year. And I think that's down from maybe $12 a month. So you're getting a great deal there because you're getting access to everything as you would with an Amazon Prime or Netflix subscription. But it's all good material, things that you and your family can watch. The second component, Terrence, is that you get 2 free tickets to any theatrical release. And man, I don't know when the last time you went to the movie theaters was. It was a while ago for me. It's expensive. I mean, if you want 2 people to go to the theater and you got the tickets, you got the popcorn, you got the Cokes, you could be running $50 to $70 just for one night at the movie theater. So consider the fact that you get access to all this great material anytime you want to watch it for an entire year, plus 2 free tickets to go see a theatrical release of your choice, of which, just to mention, as we talked about on the morning show this morning, the Young Washington, which is about a very young George Washington before we knew him as George Washington. That's going to be coming up around July 4th for our nation's 250th. So, Terrence, just some really, really great material that Angel is offering, continuing to produce content that amplifies light.
And what I really love about Angel Studios and the work that comes out of those studios is that you don't have to wonder, okay, can I take my kids to this? Is this going to be appropriate? It quite literally is something that the entire family can enjoy, and you don't have to worry about the content.
That's exactly right. And if you look at some of the things that they have, and I mentioned them in the promo there, but Cabrini, which is, of course, about the nun Cabrini that established 67 institutions for poor immigrants. The animated musical David, which grossed $50 million. Now, you take that and consider that also that Sound of Freedom made $184 million at the box office. This is no longer some ancillary fringe studio that's kind of making a dent. This is a serious studio that is making extreme impact with families all across America. And I'll be honest, Terrence, I mean, Hollywood got it wrong for many, many decades. They just thought, we'll continue pushing woke material, we'll push sexual material down people's throats. It's going to affect people, but maybe we can get them to change them in their mentality. No, Angel Studio says, no, we're going to offer a difference. We're going to offer a competitor to that, and that's why you get all this great material. I thought Sound of Freedom was excellent. The Chosen, of course, they're known for. The King of Kings, Testament, Miracle, His Only Son, A Week Away. These are some of the titles that you'll see online, paying only $8.99 a month for that. But the kicker is you got to sign up by this Easter Sunday. So for those who celebrate Easter, myself included, I know that you do as well, Terrence, we want to make sure that people understand that you need to sign up by Easter Sunday to lock in these savings for the next year.
Absolutely. And what I love to hear is that there's this sort of really good content out there, but more importantly, there's an appetite for this sort of content. Yeah, I use the word appetite as the fat guy on the show.
Well, you know what? For all the Easter bunnies and Easter eggs and all the chocolate we may consume, I think it's important, Terrence, to center this back on our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's what Holy Week is about. That is what Easter is about. It's the resurrection of our Lord. And all this content that's coming from Angel is designed to center us, I think.
Absolutely. Bo Davidson, always good to talk to you, my friend. Once again, that Easter deal, $8.99 membership for 12 months. The Angel plus Rav partnership is still doing really well. And obviously, this is great content for you and your family. So go ahead, get that $8.99 deal and partake and participate in all that Angel Studios has to offer. That's going to do it for us here on Real America's Voice. We appreciate you being here with us.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved Rav app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. Rav is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're
All right, welcome back. Hour 2 of the Charlie Kirk Show is underway, and in studio we have a special guest, and that is Cale Conway. He is the GCU, so Grand Canyon University chapter social media manager and chapter chaplain as well.
Yes, sir.
So we had a whole conversation yesterday with Selena Zito from the Washington Examiner, and she was talking about her own experience in like Pennsylvania. So she lives right near Pittsburgh, and she says young people are just getting baptized by the droves, and she's seeing this revival that I think a lot of us had a question about after Charlie's assassination. When you saw that revival energy, was it going to keep going? And so we wanted to kind of bring it back down to the student level with you and have you in studio today to tell your story, what you're seeing. You're from Missouri originally, outside of Kansas City, and now you live in Arizona. So you've got kind of multiple perspectives here. Tell us your story, and you know you're the chapter chaplain, which is pretty sweet. So just tell us your story.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in a Christian household. I had two really awesome parents that just led by example and were pretty good role models. And I got saved when I was about 10 years old. And, you know, when you get saved that young, it's like I knew Jesus wanted, he was my savior, but I didn't know the full weight of that yet. And I would say the last couple years, year and a half of my life, there's just been a lot of life events majorly in my life that happened. I lost my dad in April of 2024, just completely unexpected. And that's when I kind of just started diving deeper into my faith. And just to really understand why I believe these things instead of sitting here and regurgitating this information that I was being fed, or just even like what my parents had told me. Like, I wanted to sit there and be like, why do I believe these things, and actually be confident and be able to sit here and say like, well, this is why I believe this, or this is why I choose Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And it's just kind of been a walk with that deeper and deeper ever since then. So
it's amazing how trauma so often can lead us to deeper walks in our faith with Jesus. I mean, I certainly felt that after Charlie's assassination. Maybe let's go there. So you transferred to GCU. You were in Missouri. Where were you when Charlie was killed?
I was actually here in GCU.
Okay.
So I transferred to GCU the beginning of the academic year last year. So I started last fall here at GCU when this all happened.
What was it like on campus from a spiritual perspective when that happened?
So on campus, me personally, I feel like it was a very big shift. And I was also fortunate enough to be at the entire memorial there as well. And you could just be in that building as well. You could just feel that energy, like there was just a revival, or it's like, it's a feeling that it's hard to sit there and explain because it just feels really surreal at the same time.
See it on camera right there.
Yeah, but it's like, it was just awesome. I mean, just being in that place right there, it's just the worship and just everything just going on. Like, you could really feel the presence of God just in the room. And I also feel like that carried out through campus as well. Like, that feeling was just there. And
so you saw that from other students? And
100%, yes, I did. It was just really undeniably there.
Blake, I don't know.
Well, and we always love to ask, how did it evolve over time? Because we've certainly seen evidence there's been a sustained spiritual revival in some places. Obviously, there was a tremendous surge in the days afterwards. We saw that outside of our own headquarters here. But maybe just lay out for us the response or what you saw from students, Charlie's legacy, a month later, and now we're 6 months later.
I would say within like a month afterwards, like there was a lot of like, oh, I'm going to step up. I'm going to start believing these things. I'm going to start speaking out more. And as much as I would love that was continued at that extent, it definitely has died down a little bit. But I definitely don't think it's like below the threshold that it was. Like, it's definitely exceeded there and it's stayed there. So that energy and that spiritual, just that presence of God has 100% been there this entire time. And it's still, I would sit here and say it still is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be surprised by that. I think a remark I made closer to it is, would the surge last for everyone? No, but there would be at least a few people, even if it was one person, but it's probably more than that, where that moment will completely transform their life going forwards. And each of those little moments does matter a tremendous amount.
100%.
Well, I mean, you think of the parable of the sower, right? It's the parable of the sower says that the seeds of faith are scattered, and some land on good soil, some on rocky soil, and that's just going to be the case. It's a spiritual reality. But I'm prayerful because I actually believe that revival starts with repentance. And I remember when Charlie was killed, and I've told this story, I actually told it, I think, on the Alex Clark podcast, where I felt this, I don't know if it was fear, but it was something. I realized that everything that we had built, it was about to change dramatically, and I was resistant to it. And then I remember I was sitting in my hotel room, and I just repented, and I just said, Lord, whatever you have for me, I say yes to. And I apologized for fighting that, right? And I'm curious if you have a similar story with after your dad passed away, and I'm sorry to hear that, and this sort of surrendering to God's will in your life.
100% I did, and I appreciate that, so thank you. It was really weird because at first, when it all happened, obviously, like, I was so confused and like, well, why would you take my dad away? Especially, I'm the oldest of 4 kids, so I have 3 younger siblings, and it was just like, I'm the oldest. At the time I was 19, and like, how are you going to sit here and take a father away that had laid a great foundation and just instilled all these great principles and was such a good guy compared to a lot of people out in this world right now. Like, how are you going to just take him away unexpectedly from us? And it was really hard because I wrestled with that a lot. I was really confused and I was really angry. And I honestly, I lashed out at God a lot. And it got to the point where it was like, I instilled this one statement in my head. It was like, I'm not here to understand your plan. I'm here to trust your plan. And as the more I kind of shifted my mindset into letting Jesus come in and help carry this burden rather than trying to take it on to myself, because if I could fix these things myself, I would have fixed everything already. And the reality is we can't fix it ourselves and we need a savior. So once I took Jesus in and had him help me carry that burden of the loss, the anger, the grief, the sadness, all these emotions that are like super, super heavy, this feeling of just overcoming peace and joy that I had, it was just so overbearing, but yet I didn't understand it. And it's hard to sit there and like almost say that as well, because it's like, well, how do I sit here and feel so much peace and joy yet in one of the deepest, darkest times of my life?
Well, the scriptures say that God will be close to the brokenhearted. So there's that. I'm going to read the sower verse here. A farmer went out to sow his seed. This is Jesus talking. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. So much of life is the sower, the parable of the sower. It's interesting, too, by the way, when I typed it into Google, it was the first parable that came up. Massively important parable. We're going to continue on with Kale.
Listening to you.
What's that?
Might have been your computer spying on you.
It could have been. It could have been. Going to tell you about Hillsdale College. We're going to continue on with Kale here from GCU. We're going to talk about dating and relationships and the male-female divide, which we've gotten into on the show before. Hillsdale, you just heard from Dr. Matt Spalding. They are the best. They're rooted in truth, common sense, some of the best academics in the country, genuinely. And Charlie loved Hillsdale. He called it the Beacon of the North, America's greatest college. And you can actually take the same courses that Charlie took. One of them is the Genesis story, taught by Hillsdale professor Dr. Justin Jackson. This course talks about the relationship between God and man, what happens when it falls apart, and how to get back on track. It's rigorous, it's challenging, but that means it's good. It's full of insights and thoughtfulness. So go to charlieforhillsdale.com today, charlieforhillsdale.com to enroll. Take that course, or I think they have over 40 different free online courses. charlieforhillsdale.com to enroll today. It's 100% free. We'll be right back.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
online. And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because you have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Howdy, RAV fams. This is Warbringer here. Love you all. RAV is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
All right, welcome back. I want to tell you guys, at GCU, Grand Canyon University, how many students go to GCU now?
I honestly,
It's like
I'm not
30,000.
I was going to say probably about 30,000.
It's huge now.
It's pretty big now.
So Riley Gaines is actually going to be doing a Pick Up the Mic event at GCU on April 9th. I think we have the graphic if you guys want to throw that up. So that's pretty sweet. You guys just locked that in?
Yeah, we just got it finalized the other day. Now we're advertising like crazy.
Oh, it's going to be great. She's really good at the live events too. We love Riley. She's doing a great job. So if you are in the student body, I guess, is it open to non-students or is it only students? I think it's only students.
I think it's only students.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but don't quote me on that.
Riley Gaines at GCU. Let's talk about that. She's a lady. You're not. So what's the dynamic on campus between the ladies and the gentlemen? Because we had some students on and they were basically saying there is some tension. The girls don't like the guys don't like the girls. They have different expectations of what a relationship is. Has that been your experience?
I would say so, yes. I would say there is some tension and some friction there. But I also think that stems from a lot of different things, and I feel like this is a topic I could go on and on about, to be honest. But I think one of the main issues with it is, like, there's just not enough men being men, honestly. Like, we need to be more masculine. I would say there's a lot more females trying to step up and be that masculine figure rather than the men stepping up and really being the true leaders or being the real masculine figures in that. And we kind of just let it happen. Like, there's just not much control. It's almost like you kind of got it. Like, I'm going to chill out. You can run the show if you like. I'm going to just sit here and not do a whole bunch. And I think that just creates a lot more issues in itself.
Well, it's the sin of Adam, actually, passivity, right? Where sin of omission, where we're not stepping up, being leaders as God has intended men to be. So there's this interesting dynamic that's going on. I don't know if you've seen this, Blake, but Isabel Brown said that women should get married and have more babies. SOT 17.
You're not encouraging your children to grow up and have the courage to get married and have kids, more kids than they can afford before they think they're ready. It is high time to start. It is these choices, like deleting our dating apps and quitting birth control pills and saying I do at the altar, that ultimately trickle down into the political policies that we will see save our country.
Well, the ladies at The View did not like this. Became a whole thing. SOT 18.
What is she? So my ultimate beef with this is that it wraps a woman's worth up in her ovaries. The fact that we keep putting this on women, that their only worth in society, politics, policies, is if they produce a baby or have a husband, is the stupidest, most old-fashioned thing. We have come too far.
There is the call to responsibility for the men who help make these children, right? I don't know why it's always people lecturing women what they have to do. Bottom line, if you're not paying my bills, you don't get to tell me what I do with my uterus.
I feel like Anna Navarro is the perfect living embodiment of exactly what he was talking about.
I just think like it's so funny because they can just do this bland stuff and then everyone claps like a seal.
Yeah. Boss babe.
Okay, if you use your brain, why would this maybe matter? Well, if you don't have kids, your civilization ceases to exist. Period. Maybe that's why there was some presumed value to doing that.
But Isabel was not saying your only value is in your ovaries. She was saying it's a good thing to point to aim to. So you should do it because it's a blessing. By the way, it is a blessing. Children are a blessing from the Lord, and they're hard, they're expensive, they take a lot of time. Totally worth it. Anyways, so you're seeing this energy on campus, am I right?
I would say so, 100%. I think it stems from, you see kind of this stuff online and it just kind of trickles down, and it's like you get a really very twisted worldview, no matter what side of the spectrum you are on when it comes to certain beliefs or ideologies, whatever it may be. It trickles down and it starts with society, in my opinion. And then also men just don't want to sit here and do anything about it for the most part, at least in my generation.
Yeah.
Like I just see a lot of dudes get walked all over and they kind of just take it sometimes. And I'm like, guys, we need to step up and be real men. We need to start leading better, lead by example, and do these things that real men do.
I totally agree. I don't think men are the problem. I think they're the solution.
100%.
I think because here's a couple things, two things. If you value children, if you create spaces in your society to have children, whether that's at restaurants or parks or games or whatever, that is a good thing. If you value children, you will have more children as a society. So point one, men, if you value strong men, you will get more strong men. If you value passivity, if you tell them that they are toxically masculine and that they are the villains in this story, men are going to opt out. It's the sin of Adam. We get passive and we let the women run roughshod. That's not a healthy society either. I believe deeply, deeply, deeply that women want strong men to lead. They want them to be productive. They want them to have vision. They want them to be full of life,
100%.
Full of vision.
Yes.
And when women in this progressive feminist mindset try and put men in a corner, what are men going to do? They're not going to rise to the occasion if you tell them they're the evil villain, in the story. They're going to opt out. They're going to go play video games. They're going to get walked on. You're the chaplain of your chapter here, which is a cool title. Not all of our chapters have. I think we should actually. What's your read on this? What's your message? What are you telling young men your age?
Young men, I'd tell my age, just like, it's time for, even though if you feel this way and like you kind of want to sit here, like you said, and you get back to the corner, whatever, like we are the solution anyways. Like we still have to step up. Like you still have to be able to, one, work on yourself and figure out these beliefs, figure out what you truly believe and what you stand for, and have a real passion. And you need to have goals and you need to have purpose with your life. You need to be purposeful. Women want someone that is going to be very purposeful, someone that's going to go out there and go do something, someone that wants to actually get stuff done. And I don't think I see a lot of that, and just being able to take action on just something as simple as it sounds, something like that can create a huge difference with a lot of that stuff.
I totally agree. I think I hate that men tend to opt out. I think it's a nihilism that's seeped in, but they've been told that they're the problem for over a generation now. And what do you think is going to happen when you tell young men that they're terrible and not worth anything and they're the villains and toxic and all this stuff?
Men can do incredible things, but you have to want them to do incredible things.
That's exactly right. There's another clip here that's kind of interesting about affordability. I'm not going to play it. It's too long, but it's like, it just says, I think it's really reckless. This is from The View, to be suggesting that people should have children when there's this country's having an affordability crisis. Final note, children will never be affordable. They'll never be convenient. You can still have them. Guess what? You'll find a way. You will make space in your life for children. It doesn't mean be reckless. It doesn't mean do it when you don't have a job or something like that. But guess what? You might have children and then you lose your job. You got to find a way out. Orienting your life around the next generation is always, always a good thing. Kale, 10 seconds. You have a show.
I actually have a platform where I talk about my personal testimony and a Christian worldview things, and it's just Kale Conway. KaleConway, Facebook and Instagram.
Check it out. Kale, you're a good man. We need more like you.
Thank you.
God bless you, man.
God bless you.
Coming in.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. Real America's Music continues to release patriotic songs that push the values of what America is all about. That would be opportunity, freedom, and most importantly, a land of God. Here's the latest hit from Real America's Music. It's called God Bless America. It's just a snippet, but I think you'll like it.
God bless America, the land of the free. Say a lot of you standing with me. God bless America, the home of the brave. All of the USA. God bless America, greatest country on earth. Don't care if you say it's the word. God bless America, the truth and the lies. Born here is where I'll die. God bless America, the land of the free. Say a lot of you.
Vinnie Mac from Studio 6B joining me now with a special hookup just for you. If you happen to download Real America's Voice's new hit, God Bless America. It's by High Res. Vinnie, I see you've got those hats there. That's a preview of what's going on. Run us through it.
Yeah, well, if you download this song, which is an amazing song, a great patriotic song, and you send us that to LFS6B@yahoo.com, we will send you a Real America's Voice hat. I'm signing them right now for folks that have already done it. Last night we had a huge response to it. And let me make sure I got this right. Is that Terrence with a T? I want to make sure I get your name right on this hat I'm sending
Terrence
there.
with a T, 2 R's, and an A. So get it all right. I want one of those hats. In fact, I've actually downloaded it, so now I just need to send you the proof, I guess, that I have downloaded it. But what a cool effort, and what really a cool movement we're in right now. To some degree, redefining the music industry, bringing music with purpose.
We are disrupting the music business. If you think about entertainment in general, you've got the music business and movies and TV, all woke, all run by these liberals. Patriotic music we are hitting the tops of Billboard. I mean, the big music labels are calling us like, how are you guys doing this? How is this happening? How is a network like yours and your audience supporting this like that? And it's showing that, the conservatives, the MAGAs and so on, our voices need to be heard. And this type of music is proving it. And our audience's response is showing that we are there to support it. And we are disrupting the music business in a significant way because of it. So, I'm thrilled with it. Can you imagine getting a top Billboard song? You know how hard that is? We've done 4. And this is going to be the 5th. So it's amazing stuff.
Absolutely. And it's not really just all about us and all about the greatest artists, the great artists we're working with. It truly is about the people, which really brings us full circle to these hats. Simply by downloading it, you're making a statement to the industry that you not only like our music, but you're standing for something bigger.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, when it comes down to the bottom line of all of this, it's all about patriotism. It's all about faith, family, all the values that we share here at Real America's Voice. And we talked about this at CPAC, how special that is to all of us from the top down. This music represents that. And so we're trying to do whatever we can to get it out there and share it. And that do exactly as Terrence said. Send us proof that you downloaded the song. Get to the email address, LFS6B@yahoo.com, and you'll get yourself a beautiful hat.
All right, so I've got to ask, since you're signing all these hats, you look like a music mogul to me. Do you feel like a music mogul?
Well, those of you who know me well, before we do the 6B show, I get on the piano and I play some music. So myself and David Zier here at the network, we're both pianists and guitar players, and we compose music as well. So this is near and deep to our hearts and souls because we love music. So you got that right.
Look at him. He's a music mogul. Who knows what comes next? Look, the reality is, though, for so many people, this is a revolution, if you will, because it really goes to show that good music has no bounds, and the message doesn't have to be raunchy. The message doesn't have to be anything. It can be something genuine, something that highlights something positive about our country, and it still can resonate with an audience.
Yeah, and here's the reality of that. It's a great point you bring up because many of the artists we have on, and then many artists that you haven't even heard yet, have been canceled by the music business, by country music. Nashville's canceling faith and family and patriotic music left and right. Who can believe that, right? Out of the country spectrum. And then many artists are not even getting a shot, or they've been cut out. So we're giving them a voice, and we're giving them a voice that clearly you can see by the response here is desperately wanted and needed. We're filling that void. So it's an amazing transformation going on here that our fans, our audience, and these musicians and Real America's Voice are leading the charge on.
Vinnie Mac. You even have the name to go along with the music mogul title. Vinnie Mac, you can't beat it. Good to see you, my brother. Always a pleasure. Once again, folks, you can get one of those hats as well. All you have to do is download God Bless America Today. Stand with the people who still believe in this republic, still believe in liberty, and still believe in the United States of America and that it's the envy of the rest of the world. More importantly, though, send your proof of purchase today to lfs6b@yahoo.com and you'll receive one of those free hats that you just saw Vinnie Mac signing there. Download it, share it, and celebrate America.
The voice of generations is the Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, we've been told to cut things out of our diet for a long time. You cut out saturated fats, right? That was a big one. Cut out sugar. What else? Alcohol. It's like a bunch of things you're supposed to cut out, all right? But what if the reason you're not feeling as good as you want to is because of things you're not putting in? So that's what Balance of Nature does. It has phytonutrition, whole fruits and vegetables, and fibers and spices that they put back into your diet. So their whole health system combines fruits, veggies, fiber, and spice, giving you 47 whole food ingredients and their phytonutrients in one simple routine. Their freeze-dried snacks also go through a similar process. They're amazing. Whole food, phytonutrition, plus Balance of Nature helps you fight the good fight. Save over 30%. Save over 30% when you subscribe at balanceofnature.com. That's balanceofnature.com. Join hundreds of thousands of customers in one simple routine that is changing their entire health lives. Balanceofnature.com. All right, Blake, take us away.
All righty. Well, we talked about this back when they were introducing it, but we believe in really flogging this. This is a very important race. We're talking, of course, about the Virginia redistricting referendum. To remind everyone, catch them up to speed, Republicans in a few states have redrawn maps in Texas and Florida. We wanted them to redraw them in Indiana, and the Indiana Republicans said, nah,
they
we're
do
good.
what Republicans do.
But Democrats have not sat still, so they redrew the maps in California. But the most aggressive one that we're seeing is an attempt to redraw the map in Virginia. So basically, half their seats all are little slivers coming out of Fairfax County, the blue part of the state. They believe that they can get them to a 10-1 Democrat advantage in Virginia. And so we wanted to welcome back Senator Glenn Sturtevant. He is a Virginia Republican senator. He's been helping spearhead the battle against this referendum. Senator, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys.
Welcome. So set the stakes for those of we have quite a few listeners in Virginia. Hopefully they voted. You guys are in early voting right now. So tell us, what's the state of the battle? Do we have a shot of winning this one?
This is a David and Goliath battle, but what is, I think, becoming clearer and clearer every day is that we actually do have a shot at winning this. Election day is April 21st, but as you said, we're in the midst of early voting right now. Virginia has some of the longest early voting of any state in the country. We've got 45 days of early voting, so that's been ongoing now for 2 or 3 weeks, and we've got 3 weeks to go as of yesterday until the last day to vote. And what is really interesting is the folks who kind of look deeply at the data and the numbers, it would indicate that we are seeing much higher turnout in the heavy Republican areas and much lower turnout than normal in the heavy Democrat areas. So Virginia, we are not used to having elections in April. This is the first time this has ever happened. And so it is Virginians are being bombarded on television and YouTube and online with ads from the other side. They've basically got unlimited money. I think they've received about $30 million so far from Hakeem Jeffries and George Soros and other left-wing dark money groups. And then on our side, I think we've only been able to put together about $5 million. And I saw today another $5 million maybe coming in. But so far, we have been outgunned on the money, outgunned on the ads. But it really has been a people-powered grassroots movement of Virginians who have seen what the Democrats, now that they control the governor's mansion and both chambers of the General Assembly, what they've been up to the last few months. the people are fed up and pushing back, thankfully.
It's so crazy that you can't get more funding for this, because you think of the amount of money that'll be thrown into our elections. In a single Senate race, you might see over hundreds of millions of dollars spent at this point. You'll see many millions spent on a single House race. And this is effectively 4 or 5 House races in a single go through the method of this referendum. But to show how seriously Democrats are taking it, they've actually drawn a prominent Democrat out of retirement, none other than Barack Obama. Barack Hussein Obama has come out to campaign for this. We actually have a clip of him. Let's play 21.
Free and fair elections are the cornerstone of our democracy, but right now they are under threat. Over the past year, several Republican-controlled states have taken the unprecedented step of redrawing their congressional maps in the middle of the decade. And they've done it for a simple reason: to give themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms this fall. In April, Virginians can respond by making sure your voting power is not diminished by what Republicans are doing in other states. Help us chart a better path forward, Virginia. Early voting begins on March 6th. Election Day is April 21st. Vote yes, Virginia.
I think it's very revealing. They flashed a bunch of maps there. For those of you who are listening later, they showed Missouri, they showed Texas.
But not Virginia.
But they did not show Virginia and what their map is. And I want to, before I'll ask you, I should remind people what the text of this referendum is, because it's truly one of the most egregious, appalling examples of distortion I've ever seen from an official election document. This is the wording on the ballot. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard process resumes for all future redistricting? So just, could we please restore fairness? You don't oppose fairness, do you? But remind our listeners exactly what districts they are planning to impose on the state here. What do they look like?
Well, we have 11 congressional districts in Virginia. Currently, under the current maps, we have 6 Democrat members of Congress and 5 Republican members of Congress. And that lines up very, very well with how Virginia voted statewide in the 2024 presidential election. We have been rated as having A+ fair maps from an anti-gerrymandering perspective. We actually, 5 years ago, voted to amend our Constitution in Virginia to get rid of partisan gerrymandering and to create a nonpartisan redistricting commission, which is what created the maps that we are currently working with. And now Democrats are trying to jam through this amendment to the amendment. This is another constitutional amendment that they are now pushing to give them this quote unquote temporary power to gerrymander again. And as you said, Blake, all of these districts essentially begin and end in Fairfax County. There is
we have the map up right now. I don't know if you can see it, but we have it. And you can see you've got these little tendrils snaking all across the state. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them go through Fairfax County at least. And then like 2 others snake up pretty close to it, but don't get there. It's one of the wildest things I've ever seen. And you can see it takes us from, a few safe blue states, a few safe red seats to just all of these blue leaning seats. It's an abomination to look upon.
And for people who don't know Virginia, that big red area, which the Democrats want to be our sole congressional seat, is Southwest Virginia, which is very, very sparsely populated. And there are no Democrats down there. So that would be the lone Republican seat. It looks large, but it's, a single congressional district.
Yeah, I want to go back to this Obama clip, which, to underscore Blake's point, he does not talk about Virginia, and he doesn't acknowledge the fact that Virginia is 6-5. Democrats get 6 seats. Republicans tend to get 5 in a state that Kamala won by +6. Am I right? And right. That you just had a Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin. And so now you've got Spanberger. Explain this kind of rope-a-dope, this move that Democrats are doing in Virginia, where they present themselves as moderates, and Spanberger looks like this sort of clean, moderate vision, and then when they do this, they sell you the moderation, and then they seem to go. I call it going full Virginia, because it's like it deserves its own category now. Are they moderates?
No, and to hear you call it full Virginia hurts my heart, man. But it's sad, and it's what we are living through right now, and it is a preview for what the rest of the country is going to get if Democrats are likely to continue nominating these folks who, again, like you said, appear on paper to be moderates, but when they get in office, go full left wing. It was not, Spamberger wasn't a day in office before she got rid of all of Governor Youngkin's policies that allowed our law enforcement to cooperate with ICE to get illegal aliens out of Virginia. She undid that on day one, and they had been pushing ever since to make Virginia a solid sanctuary state for illegal aliens. We just finished up our General Assembly session about 2 weeks ago. They are moving very quickly on eliminating Virginians' Second Amendment rights, making it impossible to buy and own common everyday firearms and magazines. They had legislation to raise taxes on anything that moved. And they're also working to raise electric rates by putting Virginia back in this Northeast consortium kind of Green New Deal thing that they called Reggie. So, to your point, Spamberger has always presented herself as this, suburban mom moderate. We all knew from her time in Congress, despite the propaganda, that she was a Nancy Pelosi Democrat and very liberal. They were able to, I think, pull a fast one on a lot of Virginians this past November, and we're now seeing the fruits of that. And I think the bright spot, to the extent there is one, is that people are waking up very quickly, and I have not seen this sort of pushback and level of activism since the Tea Party movement of 15 years ago.
Well, Senator, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the fight. If you live in Virginia and you're listening to this and you haven't voted, go vote now. Turn off this episode. Go vote now. Get it done. You have a few more days that you can do it. Final day is on the 21st. This is worth 5 House seats by itself. We have to spare the whole country, sadly, from going a full Virginia. Thank you again, Senator.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I want to tell you guys about Strong Cell. If you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, you've heard us talk about Strong Cell. It was one of Charlie's favorite supplements. And if you deal with brain fog, chronic fatigue, chronic illness, word recall issues, Strong Cell could be the trick to fixing all of that for you. And I really think it will be, because I've noticed a huge improvement in my energy, and especially in the early morning, by the way. I'm much more alert early morning. So anyways, Strong Cell is great. You guys asked Charlie about this, where he'd go. You're asking us about it on social media. This thing is taking over. And why? Because NADH is so important to your health. NADH powers your cells at the cellular level, and it's just a 2-ounce vial every single day. Very easy. It's delicious. Now you can try it for 90 days, risk-free, money-back guarantee. Give it 4 to 6 weeks. I'm telling you, 4 to 6 weeks. Go to strongcell.com. Use promo code Charlie for 20% off at checkout. Strongcell.com, promo code Charlie. We'll be right back.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you about our friends at Y Refi. There's a whole new thing we're going to be talking about with Y Refi, and I'm very excited. We're also going to be announcing that they are the new studio sponsor. This is now the Y Refi Studio. So let's talk about Y Refi investments. You've probably heard us talking about Y Refi for quite some time. But first off, accredited investors can earn up to 10.25%, and that interest rate is fixed. So 10% fixed interest. It's amazing. Also, you can invest from 1 to 5 years. And you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs. When you invest in Y Refi, your interest is calculated daily and you're paid monthly. And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest as income or to reinvest it, whatever you choose. And so just a word about Y Refi. We are all in with these guys. They're amazing patriots. They're a great company run by great people that love students, that love investors, that are standing in the gap. Truly the American dream. These are amazing people. They stand for the values that we believe in, and we couldn't be happier to be partnering with Y Refi. For more information, call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrefi.com. That's investyrefi.com. For complete details, make sure to review their private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosures at your leisure. Y Refi, investing in America's future. Very excited about that one. It's a big update from us. So every so often, Blake, there is a moment captured on film that seems to distill the insanity of progressive ideology.
And very often, that clip comes from Canada.
Yes, in this case. All right, so let me set the stage. The 2026 Federal NDP Leadership Convention was called in Winnipeg in Canada.
New Democrat Party. They're the party even left of, Justin Trudeau's party, the Liberal Party, so super liberal.
So they didn't go viral for their policies, on housing, their awful ideas about inflation or healthcare, how they can kill more people through euthanasia. They went viral for something called equity cards. Now, if you are a person that came to this convention, you were given a gender or gender identity card, which would be green. You were given a race or ethnicity card if you're not white, and that would be pink or purple. You had a card for indigenous status, LGBTQ plus status, or a disability status. Now, what these cards are intended to do was give you the ability to jump into line. So if there's a queue that's formed, a line that's formed to ask a question and force a debate on a certain policy, you could jump the debate over the white people if you had one of these cards. It was designed to give diverse viewpoints more consideration and priority over white people's viewpoints, essentially. So what did that result in? I'll let you see. Play SOT 18.
There's a point of privilege on microphone 1, then we'll go to microphone 3. Go ahead, delegate.
Yes, hello. I was standing here with my gender equity card before you called on the previous speaker. That's my point of privilege that I would like to raise.
Yesterday, this card was used in an inappropriate manner. And while I understand in Ontario, we know this is equity, even if this was also used inappropriate in terms of gender. I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
So yeah, they're handing out equity cards that you're supposed to flex to. Like, it's actually
you to jump in line. You get privilege.
We laugh at this, but there's a deadly serious kernel here, which is we have struggles in America over DEI, where we have, despite our Constitution, systematic discrimination based on race or sex. But at least in America, our laws say it's not supposed to be that way. You're not supposed to discriminate. And that gives us reason for hope. It gives us ways to counterattack. And the vibe is mostly against it. Canada is not like that. Canada is the true, call it post-liberal country. In Canada, actually in their laws, they just explicitly say if you are a Black person or if you are Indigenous person, you should be punished less for the same crime. You can create a job opening in Canada for a university professor, for anything basically, and just say white men are not allowed to apply for this job. And it's not because it's an acting job where you need someone who looks a certain way. It's not because it's a sports job. It's specifically just a neutral job. White men need not apply. That is what Canada has become. And what you just saw there, heard there, is cartoonish, but that is what the left wants. They want it is truly it's not even the future. It's not a decline. It's a regression back to the way the world was before the American Revolution. The American Revolution, one of its core bits was that all men are created equal. Actually, we're going to abolish all feudal status. They want to restore feudal status where who your parents are is more important than what you do. What you look like matters.
That is a visual representation of a regression to a pre-Declaration of Independence world where you have sectarianism and tribalism ruling the day, because this was designed to operationalize equality or equity in real time. And what did you see happen? The Oppression Olympics played out for all to see, where this group said that they were more oppressed and had more privilege over this group, and then this group disagreed. And so instead of having a system that was equal for all, you had everybody trying to claim their privilege, speaking over each other, fighting each other, saying that it was their turn to speak, it wasn't their turn to speak. It was actually cartoonish, but it is deadly serious.
If you want to get at what a backward society is in a single sentence, you might put it this way, that it is more important to be something than to do something. It matters more what you are than what you've done. Because in America, the biggest reason we are such a profoundly transformational country for the entire world is that we flipped that on its head. We said, what you do matters. What you have accomplished matters. What your character is matters. And in Canada, they're returning to the old way, which just says, matters what your skin is. It matters what group you're in. Your privileges just derive from your group status. They're all inherited. They're all based on blood. And it's very bleak because you can make fun of it, but the end result of that is economic stagnation, poverty, hatred, misery, backwardness. You don't innovate anymore.
Well, the group that, again, to Blake's point, was already further left than Trudeau, ultimately selected Avi Lewis as its new leader, a figure associated with a further left shift for the party. So when you get a bunch of people in a room kvetching and complaining about their oppression and how they should be privileged more because of their identity or their sexual orientation, you tend to have a party that will move further and further left until they fall off the cliff into utter stupidity and banality and cartoonish behavior. May the Lord spare such a result for the United States. We'll see you tomorrow.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now.
When it's breaking,
We're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.